Good, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vitamin C's with me, your boy Adam Taylor. As usual, I'm joined by my homie, my compadre, my co-host in crime, Mr. Tim Shields. What's popping, Tim?
Not much, man. As everyone could see, we are both currently huddled up. No more heat wave. We're getting into fall weather.
Now, googly OODIE, because I don't think it's very big in America yet, but these are basically what Snuggies should have been. These are wearable blankets. That's just I'm 6'3", and when I stand up, this comes down to past my knees. So these are big, oversized, super fluffy hoodies. This isn't even like, I wish it was an ad read, but it's not. It's just, I saw this yesterday, had to copy it. It's cold as hell outside. Like, it just looks miserable. I highly recommend it. Now, we have an apology to give. We haven't been around for about a week. We recorded last Monday, but then obviously it was Thanksgiving. So, I want to make sure that Tim's getting time to spend with his family. Not a holiday here, holiday there, do your thing. Then it was my wife's birthday a few days yesterday, so we didn't record yesterday. Over the weekend, I was kind of just like, I had a bad time on social media over the weekend with an article I put out. People weren't very happy with it. I don't understand why, obviously. But I decided to take a few days away from basketball content. But we're back. Now, before we start talking about any basketball stuff, what do they need to do, Tim?
Like, share, subscribe. Mainly subscribe, guys. We are so close at this point. We're sitting at 915 last time I checked, so we are on the path to 100, and we're crawling for every inch. So please share it, subscribe. Please.
Yeah, so it's 1:50 p.m. my time, yeah, which makes it what, 8:50 a.m. your time?
8:51, yeah.
And we can tell because I'm like full of energy, like, yo, like, subscribe, share. Tim's like, just like,
please share it.
It's like, I haven't had my donkeys yet, dude. Why are you throwing it to me? All right, then. Let's definitely do this. Let's try and jump into some actual Celtics basketball stuff. So I want to start with something that has been a discussion point, but hasn't been a big enough discussion point. Now, every other podcast in the world that covers the Celtics have been speaking about the way they dismantled the Charlotte Hornets. They've been speaking about the way the second unit kind of came in and changed the tide against the Sacramento Kings. So I want to try and be a bit different because we've all heard what's been said. A lot of it true. Some of it might be hyperbole. But one thing that's been mentioned by a lot of people but not really dove into is what the benefit of having teams trying to isolate against Sam Hauser. And I really like this topic because, to me, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, man, Sam Hauser, you put him on the floor and everyone just goes at him. They're attacking him. And it's true, they are. But the thing is that, one, Sam Hauser's actually not really... Like, Luka Doncic cooked him. So what? Luka Doncic cooks everybody, right? You see guys trying to sign up, like, team up. But at the end of the day, what's happening is every time you try and isolate on Hauser, you're going out of your offensive game plan, right? You're stagnating the offense to try and get this one-on-one matchup, and you keep spamming it. He's holding his own. He's forcing you into late shot clock attempts, and the offense just gets bogged down. So for all of this, Sam Hauser's and it's not really Celtics people that are saying that Sam Hauser's a bad defender. It seems to be a narrative more around the league. But for all of this headhunting Sam Hauser, you're actually hurting your team's offense. And I'm really enjoying watching teams struggle to learn this lesson.
And it's funny because we were told for so long it's the reason why he wasn't getting minutes was because he was a defensive liability. But like we've talked about it before and we're talking about it now, but he's not a bad defender. Like, he's improved. He's able to float out there. He's able to swim with the big sharks, because if he weren't, it'd be an argument for, okay, yeah, he's a defensive liability. He's going to get attacked on defense. How do you scheme around that? But now it does help Boston in a lot of ways because you've got a lot of great help defense around him. So if there is any chance where he does slip up, okay, you've got someone to come over and help a little bit. But again, it's taking teams out of their offensive rhythm. They're saying, oh, this guy is supposed to be a bad defender, so we're going to go ahead and target him. and it just completely bogs down their offense. So you're trying to go ahead and run a successful team. Sam Hauser goes out there. Not only does he throw off your offensive rhythm because you think that you can expose him defensively, but then when it doesn't work, he just comes back down to the other end of the floor and hits like 2 or 3 threes in your face. And all of a sudden, the deficit that you were trying to chip into is gotten bigger.
And this is the thing, right? Like, everybody wants to go at the easiest, like the path of least resistance. And when you are chasing the lead, the path of least resistance always seems to be the most attractive. But what happens is, as you said, you're over focusing on trying to attack Hauser. You're not realizing that, hey, teams have tried to do this all season with very minimal luck. Hauser's actually doing a really good job of moving his feet, keeping his hips square to guys, not letting them bully him physically, and being able to stay in front of guys when he's beaten off the dribble. He's backpedaling quite well. Like, his vertical movement's really good. His lateral movement could be a bit better, let's be fair. But he's doing a solid job. That helped defense as well. Guys digging on, from the sides, and then somebody rotating over in case he gets beat. That helps a bunch. But it's that stagnation in the offense. And it feels to me like Sam's coming on and he's hitting his threes. He's doing what he needs to do. You know, in the last game against Charlotte, we saw him kind of attack closeouts a little bit more. We saw him attacking some closeouts against, trying to think now, my head's gone blank, against Sacramento as well. Like, he's doing stuff offensively and he's playing his role at a high level, but it's that defensive side where there seems to be more upside just by putting him on the floor. Like, you don't even need him to be a great defender. Just don't let guys get past you. Let them continue to isolate, and then reap the benefits of being able to strip the ball, force bad shots, get out in transition, push the pace that way. It's just really difficult for teams to keep that offensive continuity going when their star players are just headhunting Hauser every time. I just wanted to point this out at the start of the show because I think that he's getting a lot of love at the moment for the way his shots fall in, for the effort he's putting in at fighting over screens and relocating by shifting up to the wing, shifting back down to the corners. He's doing all the movement stuff, but he's not getting enough love for how him being on the floor is just negatively impacting every offense that he comes up against. It's insane.
Yeah, and I think if you told me at the beginning of the season that like this was going to happen, I probably, to be fair, I think if you told me that the Celtics were going to be this good at the beginning of the season based off everything that had happened in the offseason leading up to this moment, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But Sam Hauser being a legitimate role player on this team and being like a massive part of the reason why the Celtics bench is currently shooting, I think, 44% from 3, I wouldn't have believed that. And now you're seeing him carve out this like legitimate role. It's been a long time, a very, very long time for the Celtics to ever have a player like this, where you've got a guy who comes in who's an instant bucket. And now he's able to float by on defense or play well enough that you're not having him get run off the floor. And there's a lot of other guys who fit this same kind of mold that you can't say that for. And I know exactly who you're thinking of. I'm thinking Duncan Robinson. That was a major comp that people tried to pull with Sam Hauser, that like the Celtics found their diamond in the rough off of an undrafted free agent rookie. And he's made his name now for the Celtics. Is very similar to Duncan Robinson in that way, except Duncan Robinson's on a big old contract and he's getting exposed defensively, and he's basically started to be gradually phased out of that rotation to Miami. So I just think Hauser's just done so much, and I'm excited to see where he's going to go, but I'm wondering if teams start to realize this, like on the offensive end, that you can't expose him.
Well, I think eventually that's going to be a thing, right? When you start looking at on and off numbers and how teams, like, because it's not that he's holding teams and forcing them into bad shots that in terms of like he's an elite point of attack defender. It's simply because teams are stopping running their offense and they're just going one-on-one with him. And then when he does hold his own or stay in front of you, the clock's dwindling down and you've spent 10 seconds trying to hunt that mismatch. You know, you ran an inverted screen or whatever. You've put some form of perimeter offense into place to get that mismatch. Now that's probably took between 7 and 10 seconds. Then maybe you're sizing him up for another 3 seconds. Before you know it, you're midway through the shot clock and nothing's happened. And then you have 2 choices. You either try and force the issue or you reset and then try and run another play. And that's the stagnation that's happening right now. So teams are going to get wise to that, I think. I think it has to. Statistically, if teams are starting to shoot drastically worse when Sam Hauser's on the floor, and you know it's not because Sam Hauser's an all defensive type of guy, then obviously we're hunting that mismatch too much. Now, if you're doing it with, one of the players I wanted to see kind of try and switch onto Hauser would be someone like De'Aaron Fox, where you can really pressure him with speed. If you want to try and do that, then fine. But obviously, players that are trying to outmuscle him, trying to beat him off the dribble, seal him onto their hip, they're struggling to do that. So they're going to stop trying to do that eventually, right? Or you would hope. And then you say, like you said, Duncan Robinson, another guy's Max Strus and Garrison Matthews as well, right? Like Matthews had a good game the other day for Houston, I think it was. I think he hit 5 threes in that game, but defensively he looked quite easy to get past. Max Strus is probably the better defender out of him, Robinson, and Matthews, but I think that Hauser is on that level, if not slightly better. Just because I think Hauser's got a little bit more robustness in his frame. He can just absorb contact that little bit more. I'm a big fan. And look, I could sit here all day and talk about what the Celtics are running to get him open offensively, but it's this defensive impact without trying to be a defensive impact maker that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, and with that, I think we should transition to our next topic, because while we have been speaking glowingly about Sam Hauser and the Celtics, Malcolm Brogdon has also been saying a lot of great stuff about the Celtics. Specifically after the game against Charlotte, we heard Malcolm Brogdon basically go to the media saying, "I've never played with a team like this." He said, basically, what we've got here, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull up a direct quote, is nothing comes close. There's a lot of good here, from the top down, the leadership down to the PTs to the players. There's a lot of good here. And on the Celtics offense, he said, it's great. This is a treat.
I mean, the quote that I prefer, I'm just going to paraphrase this. There's a lot of starters on this bench. You know what I mean? There's a lot of starting caliber guys on this bench, and we're all bought in. This is like paraphrasing, Basically, what Brogdon's saying is, yo, we got the best bench in the NBA. It's one of the best run organizations in the NBA. I've been around. I've seen how other teams do their business. I come here, I'm like, yo, everyone here is professional. The way Brad Stevens got that front office running is really like a well-oiled machine. Everyone's coming in to do work every day. You remember Blake Griffin at the start of the season turned around and said, this is one of the most professional groups of guys I've ever been around. And we have the talent to back it up, right? I mean, you've got Malcolm Brogdon, a starter on most other NBA teams. Derek White is proving he could be a starter, and he was a starter before he came over to Boston most of the time for a lot of NBA teams. You look at Sam Hauser, he wouldn't be a starter for many NBA teams, but I bet you there's a team out there that would be crying for that floor spacing in their first unit. Grant Williams, there's going to be teams that want to pay him starters money in the offseason. Detroit, I'm looking at you. I think Detroit are going to be a team that really push hard for Grant. So when you're looking at the talent there, Brogdon's right. It's one of the most talented bench units in the NBA. I think, what are they, second or first in the NBA for bench scoring? Or
I can check that if you want.
Or scoring efficiency. They're up there for one of those type of statistics as a bench unit. And then their execution as well. Like one of my favorite lineups with the Celtics this year is that bench 4 plus Tatum. I think that's really difficult to contain. The spacing's there. You've got the drive and kick game off Brogdon. You've got catch and shoot threats with Grant and Hauser. Like, this bench is just elite. It's deep. It's got a good kind of balance between veteran and youth. Then you see Blake Griffin come in against Charlotte and just be like, yo, I love this team that much. I'm rolling the year back to like 2015, 2016. I'm dunking on fools. That's what I'm doing. I'm turning into prime Blake Griffin for 15 seconds. This bench, I'm a big fan. And I know you're still looking at stats, but it's your turn to talk.
I know. I was just trying to find specifics just to have a look at in terms of efficiency. In terms of field goal percentage, they are second. So they're shooting at a 49.4% clip.
Is this the team overall or the bench?
This is the bench.
Well, that's what I said, right? So first or second in field goal percentage.
They are first in 3-point percentage by like a lot. 44.1% from 3. Second place is the Chicago Bulls, and they're shooting 38.4. So that's
talk about the Bulls here.
I know. They ended the streak, and then Boston immediately picked it right back up where they left off. So it's kind of crazy how this team, has a bad game, knows they had a bad game, picks it right up, and then just continues to roll. But the second unit has been crazy. I think it's a lot. We sat here before the season began and we said, oh man, I really wish they would go out and sign so-and-so or make another trade to add to it.
I don't think we said that. I think you said that.
I said it a little bit. They went out and they got, hey, in my defense, they went out and they got Blake Griffin. And Blake Griffin turned out to be turning back the clock, especially in that Charlotte game.
25th. I'm jumping over a key. Like, where was the car? He got well, he didn't get up. Let's be honest. He didn't get up.
I think the one-hander he got up. The one-hander he got up.
Yeah, but he didn't get like Blake Griffin up.
No.
I think he got up.
You know, tail end of career Blake Griffin getting up. And it looked pretty good, all things considered.
And he hit a free, dude. He hit a free to open the game. Like,
he looked pretty good.
I'm a big fan of Blake Griffin.
But the fact that you're able to cycle him in as a starter there when you really were in a spot where Al Horford's out with the classic on the back-to-back, the low back stiffness, very much like an old man injury where I'm like, I can relate to that, where it's like, woke up, I didn't sleep right, I've got lower back pain, like, I can't go to work. Like one of those kind of things where they're resting him, and it makes sense to. But you're able to throw him in there, and then you're able to lean on Luke Cornett in that role that you've had him off the bench. We're going to talk about him today too. But this bench is just so much deeper than I think anyone expected. And big props to Brad Stevens for going out there and just not hesitating to throw picks around, because that got you Derek White. That got you Malcolm Brogdon. The team believed in Sam Hauser. They gave him an extension, so they've got him cost controlled for a few more years now. You know, you're going to have to pay Grant Williams. You got to worry about that one. But the bench is great. The bench is so much better than a lot of people expected. And it's a big reason why, even if like Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum is out, they're still able to float by with one of those guys because they have such a strong bench. Like the top 3 or 4 guys in their bench unit are able to sub in, and it just all clicks and works.
Right, I want to just take a moment. You said that you sometimes you get a lower back pain and you need to phone in to not go to work. Tim no longer has to go to work, so I want to give Tim. I wish I had a soundboard right now. I want everyone who's watching to give Tim a round of applause. Wait, say I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tim has just officially become a full-time employee of CLNS Media, so he'll be moving into content creation and content control, like compliance and stuff full-time. Tim's been busting his ass, y'all. So Tim got a job with CLNS as an intern probably about 2 years ago. Been working a full-time job alongside it, barely any sleep, doing these shows with me. As somebody that went full-time 18 months ago, and I did that grind myself for about 5 years beforehand, I know how tough that is. So I just wanted to give him his flowers for a hot second, man. I want everyone to just, if you're watching at this point, please jump in the comments and say congratulations, because a lot of hard work went into him getting this role. I'm super proud for you, man. I'm really happy you're going to crush it. Just wanted to give you flowers for that hot second.
Thank you, buddy.
Now, you mentioned one name that I didn't mention when I was talking about how deep the bench is, and that's Luke Cornett. And I feel bad because I'll tell you what, first of all, if anybody's been paying notice to this specific little caveat, Malcolm Brogdon and Luke Cornett have got a really good 2-man game going on between them. With Cornett as the screener, he's slipping a lot more. Brogdon's hitting him as soon as he's open. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see a play where I broke down where just Brogdon's dribble drive and pull up, Brogdon's threat of driving and threat of pulling up really stretched out a defense, and Cornett kind of helped manipulate that to get a lob. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go check it out. You should do. But I'm a big fan of what Cornett's doing right now. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit I was skeptical during the off season. There was part of me that thought he's not going to be ready to step up into this significant role while Rob is out and be able to be a viable piece of the rotation. I thought he was going to be a weak link. I was wrong. I hold my hands up. I was wrong. I was incorrect, but I'm wearing an Udi, so all good. Generally, I think he's an excellent screener. I like his kind of the way he's contesting. I've spoke about that before, taking away the line of sight to the basket, operating more as like if you can't see the basket, you can't aim for the basket type of block, rather than trying to close out on guys and just being a foul machine. Like he's playing his role to a high level. What is he on now? I don't like. At one point, I think coming into the Hornets game, he was 15 or 16 shots without a miss. Like he's been highly efficient. He's only taking shots that are legitimate. He's not forcing the issue. He's playing a very good role offensively, very good role defensively. And then we got this little Tim. Look, we got this little celebration. You know what I'm saying?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Big Luke Cornet guy, man. Big Luke Cornet guy.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen from him is definitely something that most of us didn't expect. We talked about it in the offseason too, saying, are they really comfortable with leaning on him? I was nervous about it. It was part of the reason why I was happy they went out and they got Blake Griffin, because I'm like, okay, if you're not going to have Rob available, at least you've got another body that you can throw in there, especially with Danilo Gallinari sidelined. That probably throw their plans into disarray to a degree, but he's been so much better than we expected. And it's really fun because I've said it before, I think on here, and I've said it on the pregame show that I do with Jack Simone and Sam LaFrance for Bannertown Buildup. But I take no joy in watching a player that is on the team that I cover and that I root for suffer. Like, I don't want that player to do poorly. I would rather eat crow and be wrong about a guy than to see a guy struggle. So to see like Luke Cornet go out there, prove myself and a lot of other people who were skeptical wrong, is very satisfying because he's just been so damn good. And he's exactly what this team needs right now. Like, I don't think they need to, granted, like you could go out and add maybe another wing. Maybe you'd look at the buyout market. Maybe there's someone who's a bit of a tweener. Or
DPE, baby, DPE.
Yeah, well, that too also. Like they've got some stuff to work with, which is great. But the point is they're in such a spot where I feel pretty comfortable with them trying to move forward with this unit. Once you have Rob Williams healthy, because when you go ahead and you add those kind of guys to the equation, it just changes the dynamic of what you're going to be doing. I think specifically with the addition of Rob to this unit, with the way they're performing now, I think Luke Cornet's still going to have a role because I think he hits a very specific skill set. His size helps. The ability to, like you said, roll to the rim. His contests have been good too. He's been a better defender than a lot of people expected, but on the offensive end, they started to get him more implemented, and it's great because he's got so much size to offer there in terms of like his wingspan. So if you're able to get him a pass in the right spot, he's going out there and making the most of him.
With that, I'm going to have to wrap up. If anyone saw me pick up the phone while Tim was talking, it was my daughter's high school. I need to go and pick her up. She ain't feeling too great. So,
sorry to hear, man.
Yeah, parent duty's called, bruh. So, sorry to cut you off short. If you're listening on the podcast, then we will be back later this week. We're back to normal scheduling now, and it won't usually be this short of a show. If you're watching on YouTube, by now you're probably getting bored anyway. So we're doing you a favor if we're being honest. So until next time, make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, leave a comment. We'll be back again on Friday. So we'll be talking about the game against Miami. I'm going to Miami. Is it Miami? They're playing Miami, right? I haven't even looked at the schedule.
Back-to-back game. Well, they're not going to Miami. They got back-to-back home games against Miami.
See, I haven't even looked at the schedule, but I just, when you kind of just see in your peripheral vision as you're scrolling through like the chats that you're in and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like for anyone else that does follow me on social, I'm not really going to be on Twitter much because I weren't happy. So find me over on Instagram. Everyone have a great day. Tim, again, congratulations on your new gig, man. I'm super stoked for you. And we'll be back on Friday, y'all. Peace.
Cheers.